A rights group says Houthis and the Saudi coalition put blind students at risk in Yemen.
And time brown turns to green again.
In today's Music Makers segment, an artist blends Afro-Luso melodies, religious hymns, and European classical compositions. And The Revenant and Mad Max Fury Road lead the 2016 Oscar nominations. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Al-Shabaab fighters erupted from a relatively quiet period on Friday to attack a remote Somali army base and enter a nearby town close to the border with Kenya. The terrorist group says they killed dozens of Kenyan soldiers that are part of an African Union force supporting the government. Both Somali and Kenyan military officials say the militants seized the base near the town of Selasadi, about 550 kilometers west of Mogadishu. The spokesman for the African Union peacekeeping force, AMISOM, says the battle for the base is still ongoing. Now, for more on the Al-Shabaab attacks, I'm joined live via Skype from Nairobi by Jackie Maribe, who is a senior reporter at Citizen TV in Kenya. Jackie, first, the president has spoken. They talk about the casualties. Is there any confirmation of the exact number of Kenyan soldiers who were killed?
Indeed, good evening, Vincent. And as you're rightfully saying, President Uhuru Kenyatta, who's also the commander-in-chief of the defense forces, has spoken this evening. And he's not giving any particular number on the casualties or the fatalities, but he is confirming that indeed this attack was carried out in El Ade, that is a base where the Kenya Defense Forces operate from. You do know very well that they are under the AMISOM hat. But he insists that, this did indeed happen on a Kenyan base and not as earlier reported by the Kenya Defense Forces spokesperson, saying it was on a Somali National Army base camp. But President Uhuru Kenyatta says, Vincent, that despite not giving us the number or the casualties or the fatalities, that Kenya will remain unbowed. We will not be cowed by what he terms as cowards, and that Kenya will remain in Somalia. Vincent.
Is there any indication that this attack targeted specifically Kenyan soldiers?
Indeed, Vincent, we have, over the past few years, been on a collision course with these Al-Shabaab militants who essentially want the Kenyan troops out of Somalia. So this is not something that is new. They have tried this before, and they have even attacked people right here within our borders in Kenya. And every time when they claim responsibility, they say they are targeting Kenyans, the public, or rather even the Kenyan troops in Somalia, so that we can get out of their country. So yes, indeed. However, we don't have an official confirmation from our defense forces. We have been trying to get that the whole day, but they are not giving us any confirmation or any, a statement by Al-Shabaab saying that indeed this is what they are claiming responsibility for.
Now, Jackie, very quickly, the government, the president has always said, we will crush Al-Shabaab. Up to this point, do Kenyans feel that Kenya is making headways, is defeating Al-Shabaab?
Vincent, time and again, when we hear such reports, because as I said, this is not the first time, they give us a breakdown, an account of just how much they have done, how far they have gone since the Kenyan troops went into Somalia in October of 2011. And so far, yes, Kenyans do feel that a number of these insurgents have been dealt with, have been killed. We have had reports of where our Kenyan troops have been able to completely crush these Al-Shabaab camps. However, when such a thing happens, like today in El Ade in Somalia, then Kenyans are taken aback. But however, we have seen overwhelming response from Kenyans today who say they stand with KDF. So it is a resolve not just from the president, but also from the Kenyan public, that Vincent, Kenya will not be cowed by this.
Well, Jackie, thank you very much, Jackie, for your reporting there. That's Jackie Maribe, who is a senior reporter on the Citizen TV in Kenya. We're turning now to Burundi, where the United Nations says it has documented testimonies of rapes and mass graves and warned that the violence that broke out last year is now taking an ethnic dimension. Since mid-2015, at least 439 people have been killed and 200,000 have fled Burundi. Western powers and African states fear the crisis that has so far largely followed political allegiances could spiral into a renewed ethnic conflict. Burundi's 12-year civil war, which ended in 2005, pitted an army led by the Tutsi minority against rebel groups of the Hutu majority. Well, the Islamic State militant group made good this week on its promise to attack multiple targets in major cities. VOA's Lina Ring reports that political leaders around the world are vowing to crack down on the terrorists.
The targets of the attacks have been ordinary people going about their daily lives. Stopping for coffee at a Starbucks in Jakarta. Shopping at a busy Baghdad mall.
All of a sudden, gunmen walked in shouting Allahu Akbar and opened fire. One of our neighbors was killed.
Tourists taking in the sights of Istanbul's historic district.
We heard a really big explosion. I was in a shock for a while right after it happened. I didn't really understand what was happening. Blood and flesh were splattered on us, and I'm sure I saw at least 6 or 7 people lying on the ground dead.
And in Afghanistan, workers at the Pakistani consulate in Jalalabad found it was anything but business as usual. The self-styled Islamic State claims responsibility for all these attacks, which killed dozens of people. Political leaders in many countries say terrorists must be stopped, but people need to go about their business. In his State of the Union address Tuesday, President Barack Obama tried to calm the American public.
Over-the-top claims that this is World War III just play into their hands. Masses of fighters on the back of pickup trucks, twisted souls plotting in apartments or garages, they pose an enormous danger to civilians. They have to be stopped. But they do not threaten our national existence.
But other security experts see the concern as real and imminent.
One of the things I learned in 33 years in the CIA is sometimes it's really important to listen to what your adversary tells you. Sometimes they tell you exactly what they're going to do. ISIS has told us they're going to attack us here.
But as leaders debate the likelihood of an IS attack on foreign soil, there is no denying the chaos they're causing for people living in the territory they control. Like these Iraqi families trying to escape IS rule.
We have fled the injustice brought on by Daesh. We were almost dead. We had almost no food left and very little gas and fuel.
Iraqi police say more than 2,000 families have escaped from one area alone. Many die on the difficult mountain journey before reaching safety. Linda Ring, VOA News, Washington.
Well, the United Nations Secretary General on Thursday called for an end to sieges on Syrian towns, warning all parties to the conflict that using starvation as a weapon is a war crime. VOA's UN correspondent Margaret Bashir has more.
As the 5-year-old Syrian conflict continues, Ban Ki-moon said an end to the fighting is his top priority for 2016.
All sides, including the Syrian government, which has the primary responsibility to protect Syrians, are committing atrocious acts prohibited under international humanitarian law.
Ban called for immediate, unconditional, and unimpeded access for humanitarian aid, especially in towns under siege by the government and armed opposition.
Let me be clear. The use of food as a weapon of war is a war crime.
On Monday, aid agencies reached 3 of those towns for the first time since October. They found starving people in government-blockaded Madaya and in rebel-controlled Fua and Kafreya.
UN teams have witnessed the scenes that haunt the soul.
The International Committee of the Red Cross said Thursday that another round of aid deliveries to the 3 towns appeared to be going smoothly. On Sunday, they plan to deliver fuel to the towns. In December, the UN Security Council, long divided over Syria, agreed to support intra-Syrian talks led by Russia, the United States, and the United Nations. Those talks are scheduled to begin January 25th in Geneva.
Thank you, everybody.
Margaret Bashir, VOA News, the United Nations.
Well, an official in Sierra Leone says the corpse has tested positive for the Ebola virus just a day after the World Health Organization declared an end to the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. The WHO said in a statement Friday that it has confirmed the Ebola case in Sierra Leone, which was detected in the body of a woman who became ill and died early this month. The WHO tells the French news agency that the victim was a 22-year-old female student who had taken ill near the Guinean border Thursday last week and died on Tuesday. The WHO says the discovery shows that strong surveillance and response systems will be critical in the months to come, as officials must prepare for possible flare-ups of the disease. Well, after a Center for the Blind was hit by airstrikes in Yemen, Human Rights Watch says Houthi militants are partially to blame for using civilian sites for military purposes. Yemenis say the civil war has taken the greatest toll on vulnerable groups like the disabled, and with no end in sight, their numbers are growing. VOA's Heather Murdoch has our report.
250 blind students, mostly children, and 130 people were in the building at the time of the bombing.
The third floor was destroyed, and the rest of the center was damaged badly. On the two lower levels, the doors and the windows were blown out, and the furniture was destroyed.
Human Rights Watch blames both the Saudi-led coalition for hitting civilian targets and the Houthi militants battling the coalition. The group says armed Houthis were stationed near the center, putting the students at risk. People with disabilities are often among the hardest hit in this war, and their numbers are growing. Human Rights Watch says nearly 6,000 people have become disabled from airstrikes in the past 9 months, and the public is outraged.
We are calling on whatever is left of humanity's conscience for help. We are appealing to any human rights organizations that still exist here in Yemen or anywhere else.
Protesters here say an attack on the country's most at-risk children is an attack on humanity. And in Yemen, they say, humanity is being attacked over and over again. Heather Murdoch, VOA News, Cairo.
Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince Makori. Well, coming up, the fusion sound of music artist Lloyd George. Stay with us.
This is BizBeat.
Robots are replacing humans at this industrial complex in Dongguan, a major industrial base in China's southern Guangdong province. The area's labor shortage has ignited a rise of the machines, the demand for which is growing. Xing Xinhua is the chairman of Dongguan Lianyu Hardware. He says on one hand, replacing human laborers with robots can cut managerial and labor costs. On the other hand, it can improve productivity by 20%. In some cases, upgrading from humans to robots can pay for itself in a short amount of time. Chen Yongkai is chairman of Dalian Machine Tool Group. He says if a business produces to its full capacity, it'll be able to pay back its investment in the robots with saved labor costs in 1 year. One example might be a factory that manufactures watches, filters, and smartphones, replacing hundreds of human workers. Another advantage, robots can work 24 hours a day. For VOA's BizBeat, I'm Philip Alexio.
Justice.
Unity.
Humanity.
Struggle.
Hope.
Tolerance.
Compassion.
Forgiving.
Freedom.
Harmony.
Rights.
Equality.
Leader. I have a dream.
I have a dream.
I have a dream.
I have a dream. I have a dream.
Welcome back. The top U.S. Republican presidential contenders clashed over foreign policy and economic issues Thursday night, as well as each other in the sixth debate, this one held in South Carolina. The debate came less than 3 weeks before the first votes are cast in the presidential election campaign. VOA national correspondent Jim Malone has more from Washington.
There was a smaller field of candidates on hand for the South Carolina debate, broadcast on the Fox Business Network, and it led to a number of lively exchanges among the contenders. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush challenged frontrunner Donald Trump over his proposal to ban non-American Muslims from coming to the United States.
I hope you reconsider this, because this policy is a policy that makes it impossible to build the coalition necessary to take out ISIS.
I want security for this country. We have a serious problem with, as you know, with radical Islam. We have a tremendous problem. It's not only a problem here, it's a problem all over the world.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz also clashed with Trump over the claim that Cruz's Canadian birth might make him ineligible for the presidency.
I recognize that Donald is dismayed that his poll numbers are falling in Iowa. But the facts and the law here are really quite clear. Under long-standing U.S. law, the child of a U.S. citizen born abroad is a natural-born citizen.
I already know the Democrats are going to be bringing a suit. You have a big lawsuit over your head while you're running, and if you become the nominee, who the hell knows if you can even serve in office?
Florida Senator Marco Rubio and New Jersey Governor Chris Christie clashed over who is the stronger conservative.
I like Chris Christie, but we cannot afford to have a president of the United States that supports Common Core. We cannot afford to have a president of the United States that supports gun control.
I like Marco, too. And 2 years ago, he called me a conservative reformer that New Jersey needed. That was before he was running against me.
We have to stop this because, if we manage to damage ourselves.
The exchange alarmed neurosurgeon Ben Carson, who urged party unity, a theme some of the others tried out amid the clashes. As a group, there was widespread condemnation of President Obama's foreign policy and warnings from Christie and Rubio that Democrat Hillary Clinton would continue them.
You cannot give Hillary Clinton a third term of Barack Obama's leadership. I will not do that if I'm the nominee.
She wouldn't just be a disaster. Hillary Clinton is disqualified from being Commander-in-Chief of the United States.
The Republican contenders now head back to campaigning in the early voting states of Iowa and New Hampshire. Iowa's caucus voting will be held February 1st. Jim Malone, VOA News, Washington.
Welcome back. It is Music Makers Friday, and today we bring you Loida George. She's a Washington, D.C. based lawyer and musician of African roots. She recently performed on VOA's Music Time in Africa, hosted by Heather Maxwell.
Hi, I'm Heather Maxwell. Joining me today is an African jazz vocalist, Loida George. Welcome to Music Time in Africa, Loida.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here with your two guys. Who do you have with you?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having us. I've got Mungezi and Taka on guitar, hailing all the way from South Africa by way of Washington, D.C. And I have Jordan Ringo on the upright bass, and he trekked all the way from West Virginia just for today.
Wonderful. You're going to start right out with, I think, the title track to your new CD.
Yes.
In Time. Can't wait.
In time, brown turns to green again. In time, numb starts to feel. In time, broken turns to whole again. In time, broken starts to heal. Dá-me tempo pra restaurar. Dá-me tempo pra descansar. Dá-me tempo pra chorar. Dá-me tempo pra orar. Minha I start to breathe again, begin to restore. No choice but to love again, leave pain by the door. Dá-me tempo pra restaurar, dá-me tempo pra descansar, dá-me tempo pra chorar, dá-me tempo pra amar. Minha saúde, minha alma, meu coração, oh, 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 oh. Enche, oh meu Deus, com amor, dá-me uma solução. Tempo pra restaurar, tempo pra pensar, tempo pra chorar, tempo pra orar, tempo pra pensar, tempo pra amar, 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 amar. In time, brown turns to green again. In time, in time.
This is Heather Maxwell for Music Time in Africa on the Voice of America.
Thank you very much. It's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. A roundup of the top Oscar nominations. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Sierra Leone, officials say corpse test positive for the Ebola virus. That's days after WHO declares an end to the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. In Burundi, the UN says it has reports that security forces carried out mass rapes against women while conducting raids on homes of opposition leaders. In Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari calls for a new investigation into the 2014 kidnapping of over 200 schoolgirls by Boko Haram. Finally, in Kenya, athletic minister says it will take action to protect #1 athletes as scandal over doping grows. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Pioneer-era drama The Revenant led the Oscar nominations on Thursday with 12 nods, including Best Picture, while the gritty action movie Mad Max Fury Road landed 10 nominations. Both films will vie with the Big Shot, Bridge of Spies, Brooklyn, The Martian, Room, and Spotlight for Best Picture, the top Oscar award. Now, could this be Leonardo DiCaprio's year? He landed a nod for The Revenant. Among his competitors is Matt Damon in Space Adventure, The Martian, and last year's Best Actor winner Eddie Redmayne as transgender artist Lily Elbe in The Danish Girl. For a complete list of nominees, go to voanews.com. Well, next up, there are at least 3 winning tickets in the U.S. for the record $1.6 billion lottery jackpot. The winning tickets in the Powerball jackpot were sold in California, Tennessee, and Florida. Thousands of people lined up outside shops across America on Wednesday, hoping to defy the odds of 292.2 million to 1. The California Lottery tweeted that the winning ticket in the state was sold at a 7-Eleven store in Chino Hills, a suburb east of Los Angeles. A cheering crowd gathering at the shop after the result was announced. The government will also share in the big prize, levying a 39.6% federal income tax on the winners, and the payout will also be subject to state taxes. Well, and finally, another beloved British icon has died of cancer. Actor Alan Rickman, whose career ranged from Britain's Royal Shakespeare Company to the Harry Potter films, was 69. Richmond got his big acting break on Broadway in the mid-1980s before making his first major film appearance as the terrorist Hans Gruber in Die Hard. Rickman scared a younger generation of moviegoers, playing the role of Professor Snape in the Harry Potter films. His other credits include Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street, Truly, Madly, Deeply, and Love Actually. And that is what is trending today. Well, it's been an exciting week in sports. For all of the highlights, we turn to Sonny Young with the sunny side of sports.
Hello, Vincent, and sporty greetings once again to our Africa 54 viewers. Let's begin with boxing. Undefeated WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder is loosening up for his title defense this weekend against Poland's Artur Szpilka in Brooklyn, New York. Nicknamed the Bronze Bomber, Wilder is known for his punching power. 34 of his 35 wins have come by knockout. The 30-year-old American is making the third defense of the WBC championship he won last year. The Bronze Bomber coined his nickname after the late great heavyweight Joe Louis, who was also from Alabama and who was known as the Brown Bomber. Wilder says he's brought unique skills to the heavyweight division.
I'm the most athletic heavyweight in the division, period. I got the highest knockout ratio in the division, God-given power. And I'm looking to perform for not only my fans, not only for New York, but for his fans as well, the Polish community. It's going to be a big variety of Polish community there, and I'm looking forward to gaining fans and taking some home with me.
That's the Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder, looking forward to gaining some new fans this weekend in New York. While Wilder holds the WBC title belt, British fighter Tyson Fury holds several others in the heavyweight division. Deontay Wilder says his goal is to be the undisputed world heavyweight champion, and he won't stop until he accomplishes that. I'm VOA Sonny Young, and that's the sunny side of sports. Vincent?
Well, thanks a lot, Sonny, and be sure to watch the sunny side of sports every Monday and Friday right here on Africa 54. And that's our show. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. This expression sounds as if we're flying in the sky. Up in the air. But does this actually mean we are floating above the ground?
So, your cousin is graduating from high school this year. Has she decided on a college?
She hasn't decided on anything yet. All her college plans are up in the air. She doesn't even know what she wants to study.
She had better get on it.
If something is up in the air, it is undecided and uncertain. If an object is floating through the air, it is hard to know where it is going, which is where this expression comes from. In the past, people just said, in the air. But in the mid-1900s, we added up, making it up in the air. And that's English in a Minute.